The truth occurs. The truth occurs. The truth occurs.
Hi everyone. You know what really bothers me? I remember once I was talking to somebody about concerns that I had regarding the system being completely corrupt and heading into tyranny. And he said something like, oh, when I see it on the front page of the newspaper, I'll believe it. Yeah, you might wait a long time for that one. Confidence in the media has gone down, and the mainstream media has gone down a lot, and polls are reflecting that. But we expect that they're, not going to flat out lie, right? Here's an article from 2003 from Project Censored, The Media Can Legally Lie. The whole system is just totally corrupt. Everything is a lie. This article here deals with the case of Jane Aker and her husband, Steve Wilson. They were investigative reporters for Fox News in Tampa, Florida. They had decided to do a story on recombinant bovine growth hormone, Monsanto's, hormones that they put into cows that makes them produce more milk, and the risks associated with that. So they did their research and they presented the story to the TV station, who initially seemed to be, interested in airing that. Then the station, consulted with their attorneys and Monsanto, who then told them that the reporters would have to change things in their report to make it more favorable to Monsanto, including, putting in actually lies from the Monsanto lies that were completely, contrary to facts, but they're basically Monsanto's propaganda. And that they would have to revise the story extensively. Now this went against the conscience of Mrs. Aker and her husband, so they refused, and they were fired for that, and they took Fox News to court, sued them. And originally they won, and they were to be awarded $425,000 for wrongful dismissal. But then Fox News took it to an appeals court, and the ruling was overturned. And the excuse that the courts gave for this was that the media is under no obligation to tell the truth, that they're allowed to distort facts and lie, and that it's their First Amendment right, of freedom of expression. So, it may not come as a surprise to many of you, but the media does lie and does distort. I mean, you just look at this whole Jared Lee Lochner thing, and the spin that they put on these things. And you don't know what to believe because most of it is, totally distorted. Oh, and here's another thing. Urban legends, like the guy who put his chihuahua in the microwave, or razor blades in apples at Halloween. Those kind of things, they often start from the newspaper. It's not just somebody who starts a rumor. I mean, how would a rumor spread that fast without the media? So what happens is somebody publishes a little blurb, a little story about, somebody putting razor blades in apples, and it never happened. And in fact, it never did happen. That was an urban legend. Later, there were a couple of cases like that, but they were copycatting the urban legend. And in one case, it turned out to be the parent who did it or something like that. So the media can lie, and often, a lot of urban legends come from the media. So beware the media. What can I say? All right, that's bad enough. But speaking of, the Constitution and, First Amendment rights and things in America, look what just happened. U.S. Supreme Court issues landmark decision, Constitution is void. Wait, did I just read that correctly? Yeah, I did. It says here, the U.S. Supreme Court issued a landmark decision that serves to allow judges to void the Constitution in their courtrooms. This was issued on January 18th of this year, 2011. Basically what happened here is the case of a Mr. Windsor, who was sued wrongfully by Christopher Glynn of the Niagara Maid of the Mist. And Christopher Glynn swore some things under oath, which Windsor knew were completely false. He swore that they were false. And then he went and obtained a deposition testimony from Glynn, the accuser, and the other managers of the Maid of the Mist boat ride, and they admitted under oath that all charges against Windsor were not true. And despite this, the judge, Orinda D. Evans, said that Windsor shouldn't have fought the charges, and she ordered him to pay a fortune in legal fees to the Maid of the Mist. And so Windsor took his case to appeals court, went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and they just kind of ignored the fact that he had all this proof that there was corruption in the courts. He attempted to get the case reopened with new evidence that proved fraud upon the courts and obstruction of justice. So when he took his appeal to the Supreme Court, as the justices said the appeal was not worthy of their consideration, so it was denied. And it says here, after attempting to get the case reopened with new evidence that proved fraud upon the courts and obstruction of justice, Judge Evans and Judge William S. Duffy committed a variety of crimes and violations of constitutional rights, as did judges with the 11th Circuit, and all of this was detailed with the Supreme Court. So Windsor says that, he has all this evidence that the judges are acting like common criminals, and that they're totally corrupt, and they're not respecting people's constitutional rights. And the Supreme Court says, that's fine. The courts have the right to deny people's constitutional rights. It's a bit strange, don't you think, that the courts were very careful to see to it that the corporation, Fox News, had their constitutional rights respected. But then the Supreme Court says when it comes to, Mr. Windsor, that the judge, it was fine for the judge to not observe his constitutional rights, and that they have the right to suspend them. I mean, if you don't have your constitutional rights in court, what's the court good for? What is this, a complete racket? Well, it is, pretty much. That's what it is. When George Bush Jr. said, Constitution ain't nothing but a piece of paper, people didn't take it very seriously. But it's not just George Bush who regards it that way. The Supreme Court. If you can't get justice from the Supreme Court, who can you get justice from? I've talked to so many people on the radio, April Griffin, Janet Fallon, William Wagner too, and just the things that they've told me, the things that they've uncovered, the experience they've had with the courts, or that other people they know have had with the courts, it just shows the whole thing is a complete racket. The courts are a racket, the media is a racket. It's one big corporate racket. People need to wake up and get out of the matrix. Well, thanks for listening to me, and I'll see you next time.